Taking a look at the history of photography and how it began travels down to the late 1826 in France, when Joseph Nisfor used a portable camera obscure to expose a petter plate coated with bitumen to light. This process took several days, and that's when the first image was recorded. Photography has came a long way in its relatively short history. And almost 200 years ago, the camera developed from a plain box that took blurry photos to the high-tech mini computers found in today's DSLR and smartphones. The story of photography is fascinating, and it's possible to go into great detail. However, who would have known that it would grow into a big thing and provide jobs for many? Who would have known that we would remember and learn about certain individuals through certain pictures? Michael Jackson, aka MJ, was an American singer, songwriter, and dancer. He was known as the king of pop when he did his first solo effort for Epic Off the Wall in 1979, which exceeded all expectations and was the best-selling album that year. It eventually sold more than 20 million copies. But as all famous and successful individuals, he had drama, conflict, and scandal. Michael Jackson found himself in many tabloids and magazines, exposing different perspectives and opinions of him. Each had a different story about him, where some were true and some were created just to make money. In 1997, Peter Morey met MJ and had a chance to learn about him through his camera lenses.
Could you please start by stating your name and where you grew up and where do you come from?
Good morning, my name is Peter Morey. I'm a photographer based in Pretoria. I grew up in Potch, went to Potch Boys High many years ago, and I was a photographer in the Air Force after that for 2 years with Jarrick, and then I joined the Pretoria News for 10 years. I was the chief photographer at the Pretoria News. And after that, I launched my own company, Peter Morey Photographic, and I've been running that for about 25 or 30 years, I can't even remember, something like that.
Right. And what inspired you to become a photographer, and have you always known that it would be the career path you'd go with?
It was quite a big problem at school because I had no idea what I wanted to be. My parents were very worried about me. But I knew that I didn't want an office job. I knew that, those days photographer wasn't really a career. And I kind of thought of game ranger, that kind of featured somewhere in the back of my mind. But the only kind of thing that I definitely knew is that I did not want to be an office-bound person. So how I became a photographer is quite a funny story because I actually went to a boys' school. I went to Potch Boys High. And at the beginning of the year, in Standard 9, grade 11, the principal asked at the assembly, who wants to do chess, who wants to do tug of war, who wants to do this, who wants to do that, who wants to join the photographic club, because they inspire us to join clubs. And my best friend, Dino Rakitsis, who was sitting next to me, him and I always used to get into trouble together. I said to him, Dino, I know who gives the photographic lessons. I've actually seen, and it's Mr. Gaines' wife, and she was a nut, she was a hot cherry. So I said to him, no, we have to become photographers because I've seen this woman, she's stunning. And that's actually why I became a photographer, believe it or not.
All right. With the picture you've taken in 1997, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, the picture that I showed you is a very special picture for me because it shows Michael Jackson at Sun City. It's a classic picture. We all know that Michael Jackson was really fond of kids, and he, in this picture, it shows him walking with a whole lot of African kids in the Valley of the Waves at Sun City, and he's dressed up in his red jacket, and they dressed up in their traditional outfit. So that was very special. I spent two or 3 days with Michael Jackson when he was in South Africa on 2 occasions as the official photographer, and I was really amazed at the person that he was. He had a heart of gold. I think he was robbed of his childhood. He never had a chance to just play in the mud and be a normal kid like all of us. He was a money-making machine from an early age, but his compassion and his love for children shone through. There were two occasions that really struck me. One was a visit to the Children's Hospital in Cape Town, where he bought gifts for all the kids in the hospital. And then the second thing that really struck me is when we were on our way back to the airport, he actually stopped on a Sunday at Reggie's, which is a toy store. And he stopped there and he said to the people, go and call all the kids in the township and they can come and get any toys they want. Each kid can have 2 toys.
You taking pictures, what's the one thing you consider important?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that go into taking a good picture. You know, your composition, your lighting, your positioning, and focus and all that kind of stuff. But I think for me, and this I learned when I was at the Pretoria News, my editor, Dion du Plessis, always used to say to us, you know, he had a very true saying. He used to say, doesn't grab you by the balls that shake you. So that's important. You know, when you take a picture, is it going to make a difference? You know, does this picture mean anything? What are you trying to tell us in this picture? And that's important, because to just take pictures left, right and center for the sake of taking a picture means nothing. What is the story that you're trying to convey? And this works quite well working for the newspaper, because when you work for the newspaper, you have one chance to take one photo, and that photo must encapsulate the story that you're trying to tell.